What's going on? My name's Chad and welcome back to a brand new video here at the channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Batman Part 2. As, you know, we're ending Comic-Con off on a high. I didn't do any videos last night because I ended up being really busy with other things. But I'm back and we're talking about the Batman Part 2. I have another Batman video coming out straight after this one, so definitely check both of them out. I'm excited just to get into talking about Batman a lot more within the coming couple of days with Batman the Cape Crusader on the way. But anyway, this is Batman Part 2 as it gets first filming update. Let me enlarge the screen. So the Batman Part 2 gets first filming update from director Colin Farrell, confirmed to return as Penguin. I mean, no one's really surprised about that. Director Matt Reeves confirmed during San Diego Comic-Con 2024 that Colin Farrell will return in the Batman Part 2, and that filming will begin in the early 2025. Robert Pattinson will play the iconic DC hero once again with the Batman Part 2 to be released on October 2nd, 2026. It will be over 4 years since the Batman premiered, introducing fans to a brand new era of the Cape Crusader. The Batman Part 2 will continue after the events of HBO's original series, The Penguin, starring Farrell reprising his role as the titular character following the events of the first film. The Penguin show will deal with the power vacuum left behind after Carmine Falcone's death at the hands of the Riddler. Story details of the Batman Part 2 are scarce, but with the Penguin returning for the sequel, it seems that Reeves will continue to build out his version of Gotham's underworld. What Colin Farrell being confirmed for the Batman 2 suggests about the sequel story. The Penguin's latest trailer revealed a handful of characters that will be major players in the War of Gotham, including the Hangman, the alias of Carmine Falcone's daughter, Sophia Falcone. The Hangman is a major character in the Batman Dark Victory comics stories, who is directly tied to Two-Face throughout the story. Now that Farrell was coming back in the Batman Part 2, the film could have the character be enlisted by Two-Face to help destroy the last remnants of Gotham's underworld, including any mobsters that survived the events of the Penguin. Of course, Reeves could go in a completely different direction for this universe, opting out of Two-Face and the Batman Dark Victory inspiration, instead focusing on Penguin being the big bad of Gotham. Penguin being a major antagonist for the Batman Part 2 feels like a natural progression of the character following his rise in power in the first film and his series. This film could be the culmination of Penguin as a villain to Pattinson the Batman, setting up another power struggle that could shape the third and final installment of Reeves' Batman trilogy. Fans have anxiously awaited news about the Batman Part 2 since it was confirmed only a month after the Batman was released. Knowing the Batman Part 2 was begin filming early 2025 is great, but having Farrell reprise his role as Penguin again is the key here, hinting at possible story directions the sequel may take. The Penguin is next up for DC, though, and knowing the character will see his story continue beyond the series is excited. The Penguin premieres Thursday on 19th on HBO. Right. It is exciting. It's exciting that, we have some story details. It's exciting that, Colin Farrell is coming back. I think if you didn't know this, if you didn't know that he'd be returning, I don't know why. I never assumed that he wouldn't because of the show and because of the popularity of the character. And, Colin Farrell's version of the Penguin is unmatched. It's unmatched, I think, at this point. Robin Taylor Lloyd, is it Lord or Lloyd? He is probably the closest to that Colin Farrell Penguin, but we're seeing a more dominant, a guy who looks more like Oswald Cobblepot. Now, the thing that I want to talk about, and the thing that made me pick this, is it's interesting that, that's where they're looking for the story. That's where people are thinking the story's going to go. And it's saying it's going to conclude a trilogy. This is the second part of a trilogy, right? Not conclude a trilogy. This is the second part of a trilogy. After recent comments about this being the Batman epic crime saga, and the fact that we're getting another spin-off show that's been announced, they're working on another spin-off, makes me think that perhaps this isn't a trilogy of movies at all. We will see Robert Pattinson do this beginning trilogy, then he'll do a second trilogy, and then he'll do a third. Because you may be like, why would he do that? I reckon Robert Pattinson would be very much up for doing a trilogy with Batman by himself, a trilogy with Batman and Robin, and a trilogy with the Bat Family. I don't think the Bat Family thing will happen because we're getting that in the DCU, but it is interesting. Now, what it's a difficult one to really talk about because, of course, Two-Face was mentioned, right? And, the ties to Dark Victory, the comic book, there can be complete, they can be like, oh, well, we're going to go in this direction. It's going to follow, like, Dark Victory. That's great, but I don't think Two-Face will be mentioned. I don't think Two-Face will be in it. Why is that? Because Two-Face, from what I understand, and what I've seen in a trailer that's come out, which is, of course, the Joker Folio du Arcs, what I've seen from that trailer is that this new Joker movie will have Harvey Dent in it, right? And we know from years ago, back in like 2020, so 4 years ago, we found out that they wanted to do R-rated spin-off villain movies, right? We know they wanted to do that. So I feel like Two-Face is the next progression for the R-rated universe, and I just have this feeling that because Two-Face wouldn't have had an origin story, unless they're going to create the origin story in the Penguin, it makes no sense. We know the Joker, Barry Keoghan's playing the Joker. He was in the Batman Part 1. That was filmed, but never shown in the theatre release, the theatrical release, and then it was a first clip look for the Batman, like a second thing. It went onto IGN and everyone reacted to it going, oh my god, why wasn't this thing in the film? And I think the reason for that is because it had taken away from the Riddler. But like, oh, so the Joker was in the universe, but they didn't pick Joker. I honestly think there's two ways I want this film to work. Two ways. I want it to be a pure movie of Batman taking down the underworld. So no big supervillains. Penguin, sure. But I wouldn't call him a big supervillain. He is, but I'd call him more of at least in this universe, a criminal mastermind. We need a proper depiction of the Penguin. Danny did a very good job in the Batman Returns movie back in 1992. However, the one thing I will say is that Penguin wasn't true to the source material. Some bits were, but the other bits weren't. I feel like Colin Farrell's crime, Penguin, the Iceberg Lounge, all that they're sort of diving into with the series. It makes sense that Batman goes to Oz to take him down and be like, come on, I let you off, now you're being stupid, now I've got to stop you. And Batman then fights the underworld, and it's an entire movie of him trying to get to Oswald Cobblepot. Maybe Oswald shoots Commissioner Gordon. Or is it Lieutenant or Jim? I don't know. Maybe he shoots Jim Gordon, right? Because I don't think Jim Gordon's Commissioner in this, is he? I think he's still Lieutenant. Going back to the whole Joker thing, I don't want that. For the same reason I don't want Harvey Dent as Two-Face. Because if you do that film, if you do a film with the Joker and Two-Face as your second Dark Knight movie, as your second Batman film, what will it be compared to? The Dark Knight. People go, oh, well, okay, Penguin's a new addition, but just do Penguin. Of course, I believe that Catwoman's also coming back. Sonia Carr's going to be in the film as well. I don't know where they're going to go with it, honestly. To be honest, I would love it if they were to do an Arkham story with Hugo Strange. I mean, come on. Do a proper Hugo Strange movie. I don't want characters like Clayface, Killer Croc, and all that. I mean, they've been spoken about, but I don't think they necessarily fit. the Batman. The Batman's like The Dark Knight. It's grounded. It's one of the movies that's grounded, and people are like, okay, this is a cool thing. Given the tone of the first one was a very slow movie. It wasn't loads of action. It was a detective story, right? It was a movie about a detective dressed up in a bat costume. That is what the film was, and it's a whole new take on Batman. Do a murder mystery. You know, do a murder mystery, but don't tell us who the killer is in the trailer. Do a hush story or something like that. Would be my top tier what I want. And from what reading that they started shooting, and that Colin Farrell's returning, I think there is a lot to go on where it could be a very big Gotham crime boss underworld story, and not focus on your big bad supervillains like your Joker, your Two-Face, your Poison Ivy, your Mr. Freeze. Let's do a proper criminal underworld movie. I honestly think that is just top notch. That is what they should do. Keep the detective element in there because I think it works, and I think it will make it stand out the test of time. The detective side will be like, okay, this is, although people weren't too keen on it, it still did very, a lot of people loved it, but there were a lot of people that were like, yeah. But keep it in there, because the thing is, in 2027, we're getting another Batman movie. We're getting Batman Brave and the Bold, which will be a more action-packed movie with a lot of fights, a lot of heart storytelling. But I think that's where Matt Reeves should be going. He should be looking down at that route and being like, okay, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. So yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that I'm right? They should do a criminal underworld story with just a focus on detective stuff again? Or do you think, bring in some massive supervillains, make Batman work for it? Because my whole point being is I'm literally looking at this film being like, but then like 6-7 months later, we've got a Batman movie that will do this, and it's going to be the Batman movie that establishes the DCU's Batman. And that movie is going to be a lot bigger, in my opinion, than the Batman Part 2. Because it's one that's going to establish a Bat family. It's going to establish a lot more than the Batman possibly can. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Leave a like on this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're brand new to the channel. And yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to build a channel here where we can talk about movies like this. I've got some really fun stuff coming. D23 is at, August 9th. And that's going to be a real fun thing. I got a movie review up August 9th to do with The Instigators. Doug Liman's new movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And Casey Affleck. Ben Affleck, I think, is producing it or writing it. I can't remember which one. Casey Affleck and Matt Damon are starring in it. So there's a lot to come to the channel that is not just comic books. But because we're coming off the San Diego Rush, there's still a lot I want to talk about. And yeah, I mean, just because I couldn't do videos late last night, I'm just doing catch up today. And then hopefully we're going to be able to talk about some really exciting movie stuff very, very soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.